Hello and welcome, everyone. Hope you enjoyed our amazing shorts program. We're very happy to have one of our wonderful filmmakers of the last film, The Speed of the Distance Between Us, joining us, Yuval Shapira, and he will be interviewed by our shorts film program curator and many other things. And I'll introduce them both in a moment, Warren Etheredge. I just wanted to take a moment. It's the 30th annual Seattle Jewish Film Festival. Amazingly, we've made it to 3 decades. We've shown 1,000 films in our 30-year history, and this year there are 30 more films that have joined us, including the 7 shorts that you've just seen. I just wanted to take a moment and explain why we are part of the Pearl anniversary this year. It's been a very trying couple of years, and a pearl is something that, despite the circumstances in the depths of the ocean, forms something brilliant through sometimes an irritant, sometimes things that are compressed or pressure, and things that just are adverse, and yet you can continue to shine. So this is also part of the theme of this year's shorts program. Hashivenu, Return Us, is a program that Warren has curated for us, and it is about grit. It is about the power of perseverance. And from the secular mindset, it's a manifestation of stick-to-itiveness. But this block of short films that you just experienced are all connected by people that needed to push on, fueled by an unanticipated renewal of belief. Hashivenu is a Hebrew word for a reaffirming of faith or returning in times of crisis and grief. So I'm so excited that we have our filmmaker here joining us. I hope that you will also recommend this program to as many people as possible. And it will be with us for 2 different in-person screenings if you didn't join us for those. Streaming online, please welcome Yuval Shapira. Yuval is sort of an amazing connection of both filmmaker as well as visual anthropologist, and I'm sure you saw that in the work and how gorgeously it was layered, the cinematography, and I'm sure Warren will get to that. I'm so happy to join back with Warren Etheredge, who has been the shorts program curator for the film festival now for many, many years and a partner in our Arts and Ideas program. But Warren is also an educator, a filmmaker, and producer. He is also the artistic director of the Walla Walla Movie Crush Film Festival, which everyone must go to July 11th through 13th. So welcome, guests. I'm looking forward to the conversation, and we'll see you on the other side. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much, Pamela. That's very kind of you. And Yuval, such a pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much. I know it sounds like I'm just saying this for the moment, but it's really true that I watch about 2,500 shorts every year, and this is the one that probably has stirred me most emotionally over the past year. So I really thank you and commend you for the work you've done on The Speed of the Distance Between Us. In addition to singing your praises, I want to ask you some questions as well. And I'll start with one that is just intriguing on a basic bio level, is that, in Hollywood, a lot of writers talk about it like, oh, I'm a writer who wants to be a director. You are a writer, you are a director, but you are also a visual anthropologist. And while that phrasing makes sense to me, it's an uncommon one in the States, I believe. And I wondered if you could explain that.
First of all, thank you for having me. It's a huge honor, and it's kind of beyond the honor, because I kind of feel like with this project, maybe more than anything I ever done, I feel that there is an importance for it to be shown, and I know for sure that all of the parents in the film feel that way. So thank you for watching it. Thank you for showing it. I came to visual anthropology a little bit through a fringe area. So visual anthropology, on the layman terms, basically means kind of a more academic version of documentary filmmaking, in the sense that anthropology is usually defined by the medium of research, and in this case, the medium of research is you film, and there is a huge intersection between the two. I used for a short while to program Visual Anthropology Film Festival in Jerusalem Cinematheque, and we ended up using mostly films made by documentary filmmakers and not by people who are necessarily trained visual anthropologists. I can say that for me, what it means is the depth of research and the time I spent both thinking about the subject matter in the space and researching about it. In some ways, I kind of feel that all of my films are kind of sometimes more a research project than a film. For instance, with this film, the inception was a script I'm writing for a TV series about parental bereavement, and as I knew that I'm gonna record it, all the interviews that I'm gonna do with parents, as I always do. And after the first time I was there, and realizing how much they gave by sitting down and talking to me, and what's the cost it's gonna have on their day, on their week, and the fact that I already planned on coming back and taking and filming it again as a research project. I was basically saying like, okay, I'm making a film, but I can't make it only for myself from the purpose of research, because there are people who gave something to me. Um, so and it's similar with both my fiction projects and documentaries.
I find that fascinating. I'm curious, just in terms of the initial outreach when you're doing this research and you're asking somebody to do something very special, which is to make themselves vulnerable on camera. Do you approach it as like, I just want to talk to you as a bit of research, or when do you let them know that you have this film in mind? How does that transition?
I mean, I knew after so I can share a little bit in a second if it comes out, like about what's my personal connection to the story, but I had the initial inclination even before the first conversation that there is going to be meaning for them to be seen on camera. So I did propose both, and I met many parents who aren't part of this film, partly if it was a decision I made, or because they decide they are cool with me, speaking with me about their loss, about their lives, but don't want to be on camera. Also, especially, I mean, like specifically in this film, being on camera means showing me their homes, showing me their children belongings. So there was like a kind of a sort of a double request. And so I let them know. And the way I did it, there is a website called Score, which includes every fallen soldier. So I started in 1990, and I just went soldier by soldier, and I found his parents, and my goal was that I want parents who spoken about the subject matter before, for main two reasons. The first is that I think that loss is one of the most complicated things to put words in you, and I kind of felt that in order for me to enable them to do justice to how they feel, they need to be able to be people who processed it for a while, not because they lost their experience is more meaningful, but just because I think they are able to better represent it, which was what I wanted to help them. And I'm not doing news. I didn't need somebody fresh. I didn't need somebody that's spoken. I mean, it ended up being some people who haven't spoken to the media, some people who are more, but that wasn't the issue. So that for me was extremely important, and not causing. The second one was not causing more pain. I didn't want to reach to people who don't want to speak about it. And unfortunately, there is immense amount of fallen soldiers. So the list is in the hundreds, in the high hundreds. Yeah.
I'm curious. I want to follow up on the interviews and the conversations themselves, but I want to just go back for a second to this idea about the two levels of asks that you're making here. One is to have them speak about loss on camera. The other is to film their home, right? Which the thing that I loved about it, it brings such a different level of intimacy to the stories that I have not seen in a documentary before. Like I felt. I think it's such a smart choice because I felt closer both to the parents and to the lost child. It gave me a richer feel of them. So I think that's absolutely brilliant. When you also have a very specific way of how you want to shoot them and how they're framed and how they respond. Did you have to give anybody really specific direction as to what you're doing?
Um, No, I mean, I don't remember a reference, but one of the parents in the film, Yafa, who she is the third parent in the film. And she told me she started to learn cinema after this film. She became interested in cinema. And I wish I remembered which film, like it was something, it was Bresson, which is definitely a too high of a praise. But she said, like, they told us in class that Bresson captures life, the life when the minor moments in life, the fleeting moments. And I realized that when you film it, I didn't even know that you were filming. I thought that you were testing the camera. So I kind of felt like I was in a Bresson film. So like obviously it's an extreme exaggeration, but I tried not to direct at all. I did sometimes I gave them like very specific, like, like physical actions of like moving from one space to another. But that was mainly because I wanted to kind of find a way to contrast the stillness of the film. Like I wanted stillness to be, again, like how do you capture something that doesn't exist, like lack of motion or absence of a person. So I was like, I need to we contrast it with like the movement of a parent. But like there is so many objects that are carrying meaning for them that I think like in some ways they kind of direct what, if you ask her to, Malka interacts with her with she kept like a airlock of her son, the one that before he cut his hair when he when he got drafted, then she kept it. So obviously for her, all they need was that was the direction she needed.
I think that's, again, amazing visual choices, amazing aesthetic choices. Something you're talking about earlier in terms of who you approach and not wanting to stir up too much. People have spoken about it before. You obviously went after this with a great deal of compassion. And frankly, it feels like it may come from a place of empathy, not just compassion. And I'm curious about your own experience of loss, if that's something you can talk
Yeah,
about.
definitely. I mean, I also like, I feel like, people can say it's personal, but I mean, after what they shared with us, I feel like it's the least they can do.
Okay.
I grew up, my father, until very recently, ran group for parents who lost children, mainly in the Israeli army. So he would run parents who lost one child, sometimes parents who lost two children in the Israeli army. I kind of feel like it informed the way he fathered me. I kind of feel like that was kind of like this point of view of fatherhood or and childhood. And when I turned 18, the person who was my girlfriend for the past 4 years died in a car accident, was killed. So they're trying to understand the relationship with their parents became one of the most meaningful things. I actually just recently came back from Israel and they watched the film and we had this conversation about it and I kind of told them that like for me one of the many reasons doing these films is that I wanted to understand them better, to understand how to speak to them better. Um, and 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 I guess the final layer to it is I was like in the process of starting to work on this film, developing the idea, me and my spouse were starting the process of becoming parents. So if you hear a crying baby in the background, that's the end of this process. And for her,
Congratulations.
like I was just like, this is my DNA. This is my DNA is that I'm an Israeli parent and what it means to be an Israeli parent. And I kind of felt that if I need to distill it to the simplest of elements, it includes almost intuitive understanding of I'm going to become a parent from a very relatively age, and also how scary it is to become a parent, because in Israel, you literally need to send your child to the army. Um, and I did feel that it's not only an Israeli story, because I felt like, well, still in the Western world, actually still everywhere in the world, people mainly treat bringing children to the world as intuitive. It doesn't mean that everybody does that, but like it's on the intuitive side. You usually make a decision not to bring a child, which is everybody who is a parent, it's absurd. It's such a altering, life-changing moment, and then you just need to decide on the opposite. And then the second thing is that yes, true, Israel has an army, but we are extremely afraid of I don't know, climate change, depopulation, you name it. There is enough scary things. So I felt like Israel is an extreme example, and also my own story, my own DNA. And I did, like as I don't know how many interacted with the Israeli mothers in their life, but I was asked by every mother, where is this baby? Yuval, you're 35 back then. Where is the baby machine coming? And I think like it actually was I think I kept one of those mentions in the film, but like I think it became part of because I asked the parents to define what it means to be a parent to somebody who wasn't a parent, so basically me. So it was part of the conversation.
So how old is your child now?
It turned one couple of weeks ago.
And so, I mean, you're already on the cusp of this. Like, has the film changed your feeling about being a parent?
I would say yes.
Mhm.
I don't think so. I mean, I think that it's I will insert a piece of information here that maybe is interesting and maybe not. I just came back 2 days ago from filming a new project, starting to film a new project, and I'm doing sort of a follow-up project. After I
Mhm.
finished this film, I was just like, yeah, I brought my DNA is Israeli, but I'm living in the States, and what does it mean, the American version? And I started working on this film that does kind of similar approach, but with parents who lost a child in a school mass shooting in the US. And one of the big difference, I mean, there's different stories, but on a personal level, I did this film while having a child. Uh, and I just came back from Sandy Hook, and I did went, my child was asleep, but I was just like, I need a hug. So I think like it does. I do understand it on a more, I understand it on my skin and not just like emotionally, but I still think like bringing children is the craziest and loveliest thing you can do.
One of the things that is so surprising about the short is that you have this moment like there's a lot of heavy emotion. But we do get hope in the end of this piece through children. And I was curious if you knew at some point that's where you were going to end the film, or that was happy accident, or when did that become clear to you that that was your ending?
Um, I knew it before the filming because I recorded the sound by myself. Part of the meta logic of doing this separation of sound of image that I wanted to spend time just me and them in a room and talk about it, sometimes in their son's room. So I had a radio edit and audio edit of before filming. So I knew by that point, and I knew that the mother in the end, want to show her child. For her, it's part of the thing is this idea that she's reclaiming their son's life, and she went through this unobvious thing of bringing another child at age 57. So I knew by then. I mean, to be honest, I mean, like, I don't know if I even find it as an hopeful thing. I am extremely happy that you find it as an hopeful thing, but for me, there was also something, like the cycle breaks my heart. The idea that like, when she says something like, I raised my child like it was my other child, your other child died, like you get a second chance, but there is this like looming fear. And I think for me, yes, there is hope. There is continuation of life. I think all of the families in the project, they continue to live. None of them are unfunctional.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's still the fear is fierce. Like the fear is you need to work every day for it not to define you. And so for me, like there was like this balancing thing.
I know as a parent, like, the first few years of my kid's life were just felt like just fear around the clock. Okay, I had to check on them constantly. I now have a more managed sense of fear with them, but it's gotten a little better, but I don't think that goes away fully. I'm curious as a last question and comment, some wisdom you may have to share with us is from talking. Um, to everybody, these bereaved parents and having the experiences you've had, have you learned anything about what this package is talking about grit and resilience. Anything that makes you feel stronger moving forward?
I think that the most humbling thing is learning there is as many ways to continue forward as there are human beings. I think, like there was a question if loss is the great leveler, if it makes everybody the same. And I think my understanding so far is that it actually enhances who you are, and it gives you an opportunity to express your abilities, also your hardships, obviously. And I think the fact that you see in the film parents who persevere something so immense, and it met them in a different place, but all of them found a way to continue to still exist in this world. I find it amazing. And it also, I want to say that, there are families who are not in the film because they felt that they weren't able to persevere. And I felt like it's unfair for me to put them on camera. I can't present them in a way that I felt comfortable with. And I think like it adds this thing that, when I asked the parents, besides the fact that they talked about visibility, why they were part of the film, they talked about being there for other people, and the important for them, they needed to see somebody like them when they lost. And I think when we persevere, we serve this example. We allow the people who need some kickstart, or need to see that like there is a way to be alive, and it doesn't need to be because you gonna copy them. I have a parent who told me that she in their son Shiva, she saw for the first time a mother who lost a child, and she saw that she is alive, and the first reaction was just like, okay, I'm gonna be alive. And the second reaction was that this mother lost her child 20 years ago, and she's still unable to speak about anything besides him. She's still bitter. She's still angry. And she's like, I'm not going to be that way. I have children, and I'm not going to be that way. And I kind of feel like, you know what, this is also amazing. Like put your perseverance the way you are able to exist in the world, and people will be inspired by it in whatever way. I feel like.
I totally agree that I think one of the great triumphs of the film is that while there's loss and there's grief, seeing people who can make their way through is both inspirational and reassuring on some level. That no matter what our greatest fears are, we may triumph in the long run if we're just strong enough. I think you are an amazing filmmaker, and clearly, as I now know, a brilliant visual anthropologist. When we started this conversation, Pamela mentioned the 30th anniversary of the Seattle Jewish Film Festival and talking about pearls. And this certainly is a pearl of the lineup and of the year to me. The Speed of the Distance Between Us does something that I've seen very little films accomplish, which is cutting through the clutter of talking heads and politics and history and all that, and get down to the deepest human level to remind us of what connects us. And it is that life can be suffering, but it can also be sustained, and it can be joyful if we find our way forward. Thank you so much, Yuval Shapira, for making this movie and for giving us reasons, if not hope, to keep our chins up. Thank you.
So much, Warren. Appreciate it.